got notes. I'm ready to go.
Wait, we're supposed to take notes?
I took no notes.
I'm
not prepared.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Hello, welcome to Show Boys. My name is Mike, and I'm here with I got a full house tonight. We're a
crazy.
packed screen. But yes, I'm here with, of course, Dad, our lovely stream team member, UglyKidJoeCross, and returning guest from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Mr. Anthony down there. We're going to be talking about Amazon Prime's Fallout. Having not ever played the Fallout games, I was not exactly sure what to expect from the series. And, given game to screen adaptations not necessarily being the greatest, I had about negative expectations, actually. I can't even say I had no expectations. I was expecting this to not be that great.
We had to tie him up and force him to watch it.
Pretty much.
Right. That's fair.
We'll just go around the horn here and just give our overall first impressions. We won't get too much into the details just yet. But Anthony, how did you feel about season 1 here of Fallout?
After watching the Halo show, I probably had less than negative expectations for this. After everything that's gone on with that, I wouldn't say I'm a huge Fallout fan, but Fallout 3 over there is the first Bethesda game I played, and I've become a huge Bethesda fan since then. So I was excited, but it blew me away. Just first initial impressions blew me away. Simply fantastic, and I loved everything that they really had to do with it. We'll get into more details with that later, but I loved it. I thought it was a great show.
Dad, how about yourself?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I was giddy at the announce of the show. I was probably setting myself up for failure to be so pumped about this, and then it falls apart in episode 1. But I was very, very happy with the way it turned out and the way it ended and everything in between. I was in love from the beginning.
What's your history with the games?
So I played, back in the day, 97 is when the first game came out on PC. This really janky, top-down, turn-based, post-apocalyptic game. It stole my heart. It was
You've
great.
been a fan of the games since the OG days.
Yeah, before
That's what
3...
happens when you're 32 in 1997. So...
Ooh. I was born in 1997. I just want to go on record.
Yeah, I'm going to leave right now.
I
almost graduated high school.
It's like we've started this podcast past my bedtime, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It's getting close to mine. Don't let the 26 fool you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Joe, how did you feel about the series here?
I'm a huge fan of Fallout. I get every game. I get all the cool stuff. And when I say all the cool stuff, I mean...
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it.
He's got it. Heck yeah.
He has it.
I get all the cool stuff.
Amazing. That's a true fan right there.
Oh, wow. There's even a neck sleeve on that thing.
That's a true fan because he pre-ordered 76 for that.
Actually, yes, I did. And I even got the nylon bag. If you know, you know. I've played all of them a lot. I've played them all in the original system. I have all of them but 76 on PC, and I've never even played them on PC. I just own them on PC in case I ever want to play them. I have them actively downloaded. My wife has never played Fallout, and we watched this together.
Okay.
We watched this right off of the heels of just the week before it came out, watching The Last of Us.
So 2 game shows right in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, and The Last of Us was so hyped up and was so wonderful that I was really nervous for my expectations. But I don't want to say I got emotional as soon as I saw the first Fallout screen pop up. But I get emotional at MasterChef. So... It doesn't take much. But it was very good. I enjoyed it. It really had that Fallout feel. The music, just some of the dialogue options. And you couldn't look at anything in the background without seeing it. Every cram,
everything.
The sugar cereals, and just oozed Fallout. And for a fan of Fallout, I loved it. The wife also loved it just because of the story.
Yeah. But yeah, so like having never played the games, like obviously you'd have to live under a rock to not like get Fallout meme culture and like the vibe of Fallout. So that's one thing that it's like I feel gross saying this because I haven't played the games, but I feel like they nailed that vibe. And it sounds like from what you guys are saying,
Yeah,
that's an accurate statement.
it
Um,
is.
But yeah, I just I love like I think Jeff in our conversations use like quirky, but just like the weird like silly humor.
Yeah.
But there's like this like serious, really messed up like world and story happening in the background, but it's like everything's goofy. Yeah, it's just a great tone, and I really feel like they crushed the vibe of the games, and that's coming from someone who's never played it, so take that as you will. But now that we've kind of got those overall impressions, here's your spoiler warning. We'll get into some of the details of the show, so if you haven't seen the series, pause, come back after you watch it. Or if you're one of those like sadistic like weird psychopaths that enjoys having things spoiled before you watch stuff, oh, I love your avatar there. I would like to ask you, Fallout veterans, does the story of the series follow a storyline in any of the particular games, or is this a new story just set in the world of Fallout?
This series actually takes place 194 years after Fallout 76, but only 9 years after Fallout 4. So this is the furthest we've been in the Fallout universe,
which makes it very interesting for where they're going to go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it pulls a lot from all the games, and
Yeah.
still made its own unique story, which I really loved. Like, I was going back through preparing for this. Is like Lucy very much is like Fallout 3, right? Go find your dad. Then Fallout 4 is the Brotherhood questline almost all over again with Maximus, and then the Ghoul. I kind of threw him into Fallout New Vegas because it's just like, hey, have fun, go do your thing, be a menace to society. Like that's the three big titles, like this main themes around them, and I thought each main character got enough love from each game. It was really nice to see.
Nice. So like one of the things that Chad and I always talk about whenever we get those video game adaptations that just absolutely suck and blow and are like, what were you thinking? Like, how did you even make this? Like our point is always like, you have an amazing narrative in this game. Like just tell the story of the game.
Yeah.
Being such big fans of these games, were you kind of nervous going into the season here with them wanting to tell, you know, the age old saying that every film or show maker has when they adapt any sort of source material? They're like, yeah, we love this world, we just want to give a fresh new take on in this world or whatever. Were you guys nervous that not telling one of the narratives straight from the game would be a problem?
Well, the thing is, the games are so choice heavy
Mm-hmm.
to where you can do almost anything you want. You can choose which faction you want to team with. You can choose which people you want to just murder before you even say hello to them. And you have a like system where if you're with a town enough, they start to like you, start to love you. So you can't really follow a character from any of these games because unless you want to just make the choices for them, and that kind of ruins the fun of Fallout. So I do kind of like this fresh take of just watching a story in the Fallout universe.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I wasn't very happy at the beginning where it showed like Lucy and then, you know, in big bold letters, and then it went to Maximus in big bold letters. I was kind of like, oh no, I'm like, we're gonna get like a 3 separate story thing, but they brought them all together quick. But yeah, I don't think it could really follow any of the narratives, but it'll be exciting to see. We'll talk about the series sequel later, and there's a lot to happen there.
Yeah. So Anthony, I want to ask you, since there kind of isn't really a great story that could translate from the game to the screen, how do you think they nailed the game to show accuracy in other areas? Maybe with just like the aesthetic or the vibe or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that it was great. Everything from the set design, the props, the writing, the score, it all came together to make this wonderful Fallout universe. that was inviting to all the new people who have never played the games, like yourself, but
Mhm.
it still felt familiar enough that us dedicated fans were like, that's Fallout. And I was blown away by how well they did it. And I saw online afterwards, they took real files from the games to 3D print the props and stuff. Like, they took
Oh,
so
really?
much detail from the games themselves, away from the story even, that it didn't matter. Like, I think they probably got a lot of that from Cyberpunk Edge Runners, because that's another game where you kind of make your own way in the game and you go through a story that's kind of linear, but it's still a make your own world, make your own choices kind of game. So I think bringing in all of the aesthetics to make it a unique story in the Fallout universe was the perfect way to do it.
The only comparison that I have to an adaptation that fits like this criteria and pathway is Arcane, and being like, I was a huge League of Legends player, and of course it's a MOBA 5v5 like PvP game. Absolutely zero narrative in the game itself. I mean, we could go on and on about League of Legends like lore that's presented on their website and all that fun stuff, but the way Arcane was able to capture all of that essence from the characters and background stories in League of Legends that you get like on their website and stuff, I imagine that Fallout was very similar in what they were able to capture. And fun fact, Ella Purnell was the voice of Jinx, and she's of course Lucy, so that's a fun little tie in there.
Hearing Jinx's voice come out of the actress and playing Lucy, and the complete opposite those characters are is
Right.
was one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before Lucy, fires off a super mega death rocket, and we'll see what happens.
I can't wait. That's gonna be so great.
Now, my wife watching this, some of the things that happen in the game that happen in the movie, like when she gets stabbed and she can barely move, and she takes that stim pack, and then is just up and running down the hallway, and my wife's like, she just got stabbed, and I was like, yeah, that's a stim pack.
Yeah, he's never played a video game, so
When they did that, they did the same thing to the dog, which we all know who that is, but yeah, jumps up and is ready to go.
I'm so glad that that's how they handled stim packs. Just no questions asked. You're healed. It was like perfect.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what are some of your favorite things that we saw that were like highly accurate in the show?
Oh man. Besides everything, so they pulled so much from the games, like so many Easter eggs that it's just listed everywhere. Like I looked it up, and it's like so much stuff that they intentionally put in there, like just for us. It seems like they threw in. I was going to say this earlier about the whole like story thing and bringing stuff from the games. Shady Sands, which Joe, you probably know from the first game.
Yes, the very first.
They that's a big narrative piece for the show, which it turns out, which is really crazy because I'm actually playing through Fallout 1 right now, and I'm in Shady Sands. So it's just kind of crazy to like piece all that together.
Make sure you check all the refrigerators for poor little Maximus.
I mean, there's just so much stuff, like the stim packs, the Nuka-Cola, the robots, just so many things that just like a love letter to the players. It's awesome.
Yeah. Man, I just love that Maximus survived by shoving himself in a refrigerator. That's hilarious.
That's the first time it's happened.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, hey, So let's just talk about the story that we were given here in the series. What do you guys think of the story we were presented? Let's start with you this time, Joe.
The way this story is portrayed, Lucy's story could almost be a story that you are part of in the game. Not so much the Maximus line and not so much the Ghoul line, but the Lucy line, I could see actually playing a game through the Lucy line where, hey, they come into the vault, your dad gets kidnapped, you got to go save your dad. In Fallout 4, your son gets kidnapped, got to go save your son.
In terms of like Lucy's story and Hank McClane, right? With Hank being a Vault Tech employee and Vault 31 being full of the frozen Vault Tech employees, what did you think of Vault Tech being the bad guy in the games? Like, are they
if you played the games, you know that there's no such thing as a vault that doesn't have some sort of background experiment going on.
Right.
There's vaults where they put 900 men and one woman, or stuff like that.
Weird
There's
stuff.
a guy with just one man and a box of puppets is one of the Fallout vaults. There's the Gary vault that just has thousands of clones of a guy named Gary. Vaults that were made not to seal properly so that the government could see how radiation affects people.
It's dirty.
They made vaults designed to where the water chips would go bad after so long and they would have to leave. So you know that just watching the show from the very beginning, because they look also, happy-go-lucky, and you just know that nothing is what it seems. From people who are not fans of the Fallout series could think, man, this is kind of messed up, but then you're like, it's messed up.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you've played the games, you definitely have a different perspective on what's going on, or it just unfolds more quickly for you. But I feel like the story was good enough to keep with people who are fans of the game, and also be able to attract people who aren't fans of the game to want to play the game, because Amazon actually was giving out Fallout 76 if you had Prime.
Yeah, gotta scoop those free games up, guys.
And they actually reached the highest player count since the game came out.
Nice.
So you can't tell me that that's just Fallout fans, because a lot of Fallout fans have already played that game and had their hearts shattered by it.
So Anthony, like, was the story that we got like super predictable for you? Did you know what was coming? Did anything really take you by surprise, like knowing how the games kind of play out?
So I watched this with my girlfriend, who also has never played a Fallout game before.
Okay.
When it came to Vault 33, 32, and 31, I wasn't quite sure where they were going with it, but I knew it had to be some sort of experiment because of the games, right? And I put that together pretty early. But I think that was like the best part of getting the Ghoul and Maximus is, okay, I didn't really know where they were going with that. So while Lucy's storyline could have been kind of predictable, and going back to the vaults and figuring out what their experiment really was and how all that played out, it was great for the game. But for the show, I understand why fans might see like Lucy's storyline is a little bit weaker. Whereas the other two, I was much more invested in because I didn't know where they were going to go with them.
Okay. That's good to know. So of the three, which one did you find like yourself more drawn to?
Man, that's tough. I thought they all got enough attention to love, but I'll say the Ghoul, because at some point in I don't remember what episode it was. Might have been his introduction, but his line of, "I do this shit for the love of the game.
I do this shit for the love of the game,"
will live with me forever. Like the line delivery, that line, and that way it sets his character up, I was sold, I was hooked, and I was in. So like the Ghoul's opening scene was one of my favorite opening scenes of a character probably ever. Like, and I will always remember that. And I saw a meme of it too, and I was like, all right, I'm not the only one. Like that was a line that's going to be around for a while.
Yeah. Well, he has the most lines that are just true to things people in the games would say too.
Dad, how do you feel about the three stories? Which one was your favorite?
Obviously the Ghoul, and the reason why, and this is a shout out to the games and the combat system. When he is in Philly and he's making his case after he shoots what's his face in the foot,
the dude's
foot clear off,
yeah.
And then it's a big shootout, right? But he's like blasting everybody, and it's like super gory, just like the game, and it's slow motion, just like the game. It's fantastic. I loved him from that moment. I did like him before, like when they showed like in the very, very beginning, like but like there's just something about him. And then that scene was just so incredible. My jaw hit the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
So if Zack Snyder directed this, how much slow motion do you think we would have gotten?
The whole thing.
Like 85% of every episode was
even
slow
the music
motion.
in slow motion.
The music, slow motion. Yep, the walking.
Oh yes, slow motion music actually is the best. That really just adds so much effect. You know,
my headcanon for that scene is that he's using VATS, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's using the VAT system to kill all those people, and that was like a great nod to in a way, great way to do it.
There was another really great reference to that with Thaddeus when he's shooting. I think it's like the end or episode 7 where Maximus and Lucy show up at the radio station, and he's like shooting. He's like, I don't have a scope. Like referencing like zooming in to see like, and they're like, dude, what are you shooting at? It's so terrible.
Thaddeus was such a good character too.
Dude,
He was hilarious.
Yes.
dude, him and Maximus, and even what was the
Dane?
knight's name?
Oh,
Yes.
Titus.
Titus. They're
Night
they're
Titus.
so dumb, but I love it so much. They're
That's
like
the Brotherhood,
dumb-
baby.
What's
Man,
funny is because
so
when we
funny.
first, like when Titus is revealed as who he is, he's such a weasel type, like looking
Yeah.
dude. Like, because when you've got the armor on, you're like, oh man, these guys are like majestic. They're amazing. You take the helmet off, they're just some schmuck under a helmet.
And they're right. They're scared.
And they're sleazeballs.
I just love hearing like the lines like that Maximus would say that we're just so dumb, but it through the filter of the helmet while he's wearing this massive power armor. What about you, Joe? Which of the 3 storylines captivated you the most?
It's probably the goal. It's just the one-liners. He takes you to like the he travels the most to like the iconic locations from the game, like the Super Duper Mart. I mean, well, Lucy went there, but like he has the most interactions in the game to me.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you the backstory of goals, which is pretty cool. I'm hoping for the future we'll get more goals that we can interact with like that, which would be very cool. The Maximus storyline was really good too. It was a little weird at the end where he says, I'm going to take this fake head and go and try to be valiant. And then like, I don't know where he ever thought that plan was like going to work, knowing where she was going to take the head to bring the Brotherhood to her for protection. But
that plan wasn't
I'm
going to work either.
I know, but I don't know. I don't know exactly
We all know
what he was
this.
thinking.
Yeah.
But
I think the ghoul is kind of the easiest one to latch on to, because not only what you said, he travels the most, he interacts with things the most, but like we also get the most backstory for that character.
yeah,
Right. They really do a good job of like making you care about who he was before. And obviously that plays a huge part into like how the fallout even happened. Right. But yeah, he's just so integral to the entire story of what we're getting. So it's hard to not.
he fits my play style.
Making him the Fallout Boy was kind of wild. I did not see that.
So do you think when he's at the birthday party and the guy's like, you know, being a douche to him about the thumbs up thing, do you think it's the Fallout Boy thumbs up?
Yeah, the
No,
Pip Boy gives a
that's
thumbs
true,
up
that's
because he's covering the mushroom cloud.
That's true.
It's not an actual thumbs up.
Well, thanks for ruining that for me, Joe. I just thought he was
See, if
a
you
happy.
see,
I thought he was a happy
He's got
guy.
he's got an eye closed.
He's
There you
checking
go.
he's checking the cloud, making
Yeah,
sure.
he's
Look at
actually
that.
looking at the mushroom cloud.
He probably will be blind, but you know,
At
and
least
he
knows.
doesn't seem like he's running. So either he's about to die or he's a good distance away.
Or yeah, if you can, it's too late to run anyways. So
What do you guys think about the casting overall? I say the biggest surprise for me was hearing Matthew Berry's voice as the robot.
I made a note. This show has Matt Berry, casting director, needs a raise.
Exactly.
He needs to be in everything.
All I could think of is
Amazing.
What We Do in the Shadows and Laszlo. I was just like, this dude is one of the funniest people alive and has one of the most recognizable and borderline iconic voices. Like exactly what you said, Anthony. He needs to be in everything. Please just make that happen.
Yeah, he
And-
was so fun.
Not only is he, you know, a voice of the robot, but we actually see him in person. He's at the party with is it Howard Cooper? Is that the ghoul's name?
Cooper.
Cooper Howard.
Cooper Howard. There you go. Yeah, at the house party there. That was a real treat to see. But Anthony, were there any particular casting choices besides old Matt that got you all happy inside?
I think Ella, like
Yeah.
realizing who she was, because I didn't realize that she was Jinx's voice actress until about a day before the show came out. It made me excited. Like she voice acted so well for Jinx. I mean, she brought that character alive, because I don't think she does the voice of her in League of Legends, but she got it
Right.
on the spot that I was like, well, if she can act like an actual act, cool, I'm in. And she was fantastic through the whole thing. I thought it was just her blatant, ignorant, hopeful side was brought out so well.
Yeah.
And I don't think they could have casted
yeah.
anybody better. I thought she played the part perfectly.
Yeah, she nailed the naive, like, go-getter, and I loved it. Dad, casting choice stuck out to you?
I would say Lucy. I knew nothing of her before this. Didn't know about Arcane, and obviously our boy Goggins. I was excited as soon as I realized who he was and where I had seen him before, and hoping that he would bring some of that energy into this, which I feel like he did. I mean, there were some other like side characters that I just liked seeing.
Zach Cherry, Severance. When the Raiders are coming in, he's like, "Get that Jello out of here," or whatever.
Oh
sorry,
man,
that was
all
hilarious.
the vault sequences were amazing. I feel like they really nailed that whole feel perfectly. Also, Price.
Yeah,
I also have to add in real quick,
Yeah.
Norm. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Moses Arias, as someone who grew up watching
Norm.
Hannah Montana, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Seeing him all grown up and like acting the way he does.
Is he all grown up now? I mean,
He looks like a child still.
He does
Dad.
still look like a child, but he was born in
I'm like,
'94, so he's
is
an
he
adult.
an adult or is he a kid? He's just somewhere like awkwardly in between the two.
dude, his character was great. At first, I wasn't like a huge fan of but yeah, as he goes on and he's uncovering the secrets behind the vault, and
At the end, like you're talking about at the end, and he's the robot, the brain on a Roomba.
the Bud's Bud.
Why didn't he just kick the brain? Like, am I wrong? Is that just how I would play Fallout? I'd just kick the brain as soon as it started.
If it was an option,
He's like, come here,
yes.
come here.
Yeah,
It's like, come here so I can stab you with this needle.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm just gonna hunt you across the
I
wall.
love like this show, just the interactions. Like that's one of them. Like the scene on the bridge,
Whipping beans,
they're standing on the other side of the bridge,
yelling at each other.
Where do you think we're heading with Fallout? We got that teaser there at the end. Hank, of course, escaping in the power armor. Maximus being hailed as like, you know, the new Brotherhood like champion of sorts. Lucy dumbfounded, shocked that, you know, Hank hit all of his Vault Tech shenanigans, the traitor like behavior there, her mother being a, you know, basically rotten corpse there on the table, leaves with the ghoul to find Hank, and then we get the New Vegas sign. So where are we going from here, Anthony?
So here are my theories for season 2. We're gonna get Robco, and Mr. House might, I think, still be there, because I don't know what ending from Fallout New Vegas they're gonna take for season 2. That's gonna be like what's up in the air, because you could have the Legion still being there and being in control somehow. I think you could still have some NCR left over or Mr. House left over. It's been a long time since I played New Vegas, so I'm kind of remembering the endings. I think the Brotherhood's going to expand, and I think Maximus might become a bit of a villain for at least half the season. I think he's going to have to, just to survive. I think Lucy and the Ghoul are going to end up in the same spot they did at the end of this season, where they end up in a fight between the Brotherhood and whoever is controlling New Vegas. And then I'm calling it now. We're going to Quarry Junction. We're going to see a full herd of Deathclaws, and Rad Scorpions are going to replace the Rad Roaches. And that was one of my big complaints. We didn't get more of the iconic monsters, so I think they're really going to bust out the monsters in season 2.
You saw the Deathclaw skull.
Skull, yeah. Like
You've
Quarry
got to.
Junction might end up being one of the first or second places in episode 1 or 2. I bet, since we brought the Yo guy in so early in season 1, I bet they'll bring the Deathclaw in real early in season 2.
Oh
man.
And I'm very excited.
Oh, how do those theories make you feel, Dad?
I'm excited. I mean, I think wherever they decide to go, well, I can't say that. They've got a lot of options. And that's the thing, like you said, Anthony, like all the games, multiple endings, multiple roads to take as far as story, as far as a show. Not playing New Vegas, I don't really know what this looks like other than more crazy and hopefully death claws. You said that. I'm excited. Death claws are the most horrifying creatures when you come across in playing a game. So tanky, very difficult to kill. Lucy is very lucky, like one-shotting everything she shoots, but she's gonna have a hard time.
Hey, we had a Lucy training montage at the beginning of the show. It's not luck. She's skilled.
yeah, she's
Well,
special.
luck is one of the special traits. So
Yeah, I don't know. Where's my Meyer lurks?
yeah.
I thought we were going to get them in this season, or at least mud crabs.
As long as we don't see those big old fire ants, because I hated those things so much that I put them in. That they were part of a D&D campaign we were doing at the time because I hated them so much. I'm personally excited to see Necropolis.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we'll see that. I feel like the goal's going to go there, hopefully for some reinforcements.
So, sorry, this show kind of like covers 3 of the games as far as area-wise. So 1, 2, and New Vegas. And a lot happens in this area between the 3 games.
Yeah, and it's weird because the season 2 is we know, I mean, without a doubt, because they showed New Vegas, this will take place after the game.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the storylines from New Vegas could potentially be canon at the end of this, because Mr. House was at the boardroom when they were talking there. So to show him makes me think that they're foreshadowing that he's still alive, which means that his storyline is viable, which makes me sad that the House line's viable, because Benny was played by Matthew Perry, who passed away, and I would have loved him in that role for this series.
Yeah.
And there's also Caesar and his Legion. I imagine I would be fine if they just retconned the game New Vegas, because just to experience all 3 of them, the battle from a different perspective, I would be all fine with. But yeah, I'm very excited. I hope they do bring in some monsters. I'm hoping that they do the characters well. I do also think that Maximus is going to have to, I want to say, toughen up a little bit, and he's going to have to make some hard choices. And hopefully they bring some stim packs with them.
He's got a really big choice to make, because Price just offered him a deal to like split off and do their own thing. So
Yeah.
he could just completely walk away from it all with, his name's not Price, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he'll leave Lucy though, because he did kind of like put his life on the line for her.
He did. So what is the year that the show's taking place?
The show's taking place in 2296, and supposedly the show played out over the course of a year.
In New Vegas was 2281, so it's been about 13 years.
All the games have already happened.
Yes.
So the latest one is Fallout 4, which is 2287,
and we've seen like hardly anything from the Enclave.
That's
True.
what I was gonna. Yep, I was gonna bring that up
True.
too,
So
because that was kind of a big deal.
For those
Side note.
listeners that are not familiar with Fallout, I'm definitely not including myself in this category here. But could you maybe explain for them what the Enclave is?
there's a little bit of a hint in the series to who the Enclave is. Whenever they talk about the very beginning about the president's disappearance on the TV before she changes the channel. In
Yeah.
Fallout, the president knows that the bombs are coming, so they take all of the powerful people from the government and go in a submarine underground. Yes, submarines go underground now, people.
Yeah, it's a new type of sub.
Yeah. They go under the water and wait for the bombs to clear, and then they start pretty much try to restart the government, and they form themselves known as the Enclave, run by the president.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Our listeners greatly appreciate that explanation.
But they were ended in.
Was it Fallout 3 that you fight them?
I think it was 3 that we fought them and put an end to them, so they could be gone.
Or this could be a completely different sect on the West
Could
Coast.
be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Because the scientist was from the Enclave. He was an Enclave runaway, if I remember right. So there at least somebody's still around. I'm curious if they're gonna bring in some East Coast stuff from Boston and DC from 3, and I think it might be Runaway Synths if they do. So we might see some robots in this one as well. At least human robots.
They did show a robot in the sand when Lucy was exploring.
Oh, I
early
missed
on.
that one. So that
Nice.
could be another angle that they're going to bring in from at least the East Coast games.
Yeah, that was
so.
rough.
Or Liberty Prime.
I hope Liberty Prime walks through the strip and just destroys everything by the end of the season. Just have fun
For those
with
of
it.
you who are familiar with Fallout, Liberty Prime is like Optimus Prime.
Oh, nice.
He's like a knockoff of the Iron Giant.
Yeah,
Oh, that's hilarious. That's awesome.
but there's a lot they can do. I don't care if they just throw all the games out the window and just show us stories in this universe, but I wish they wouldn't have dated it if that were the case. Because
Putting it on the official timeline does make it hard.
Could they have told these stories without dating them? Could you have played this whole first story without knowing what year it was taking place in, or this whole first season?
With the amount of references that they have, especially with the shot of New Vegas at the end, I don't think the community probably would have loved that if we didn't know where it fell on the timeline.
We would have figured it out.
Yeah, like somebody like we would have either made it up ourselves, or we would have been, a lot of people on Twitter would have been angry. It's fine, whatever. But like, I don't know if they could have gotten away with that. Actually,
Like at the very beginning when the guy was drinking the Sunset Sarsaparilla, I was like,
yeah. I don't know if they could have gotten away with that. Can I ask you guys something? Actually,
Sure.
did you like the fact? And this is like a general TV show. Do you like the binge watching where all 8 episodes dropped? Or would you have preferred something like The Last of Us where like every week on Sunday we all got together and watched the new episode of Fallout? Like, because I personally lean towards that, especially after Game of Thrones. I miss Walking Dead, Game of Thrones Sunday nights.
Yeah.
So I really wish this would have come out week by week. I think it would have
Netflix ruined that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but we've seen, Apple Plus does that. Prime has done that in the past. Disney Plus still kind of does it. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of the weekly releases just because it adds an excitement for the episode that's coming out.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to worry so much when you're talking with your friends, like, oh, you've already seen 7 of the 8 episodes, so I've only seen the first one.
What's the last thing you saw?
We're all kind of on the same, playing field. I mean, there's always, if you start it, a couple weeks after, of course. But yeah, and in terms of talking about it and making content around stuff, it's much easier and more fun to do a weekly release than, all at once.
I feel like it leads to different conversations. I don't know. I just wish I could be Anthony and have friends to talk to on a weekly basis about things like that.
Must be nice. Must be
geez.
nice.
You guys are the ones with the podcast here. Wait a minute.
But I do feel like the way the world has gotten to, water cooler talk just doesn't happen as much on anything as it used to.
Yeah.
Like we were watching Shogun, and that was a weekly release, and just all the guys at work are like, have you watched the newest Shogun? I was like, no, and they're like, well, okay, I'll ask you again tomorrow. But when you finally watch it, then you get that and then this, and when you're trying to have a 10-minute conversation with somebody and you're trying to talk about an hour of content, it's a lot more fulfilling than when you're trying to have a 10 minute. You only have 10 minutes to talk to this person, and you spend 10 minutes
cover
talking
8
about
hours of
when you got to cover 8 to 10 hours. You really don't get the same feeling. So I for my work schedule's sake, I like the binge watching.
Plus, I think for the content itself, it helps keep it relevant and in people's mouths and hyped when you have the weekly release, because you're forcing your audience to consume it over a much longer period of time, and that gives them time to talk about it in between episodes and get excited for the next episode and excited for the next season, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, how do you feel about that, Dad?
What?
I love this guy. I love this guy so much. Look at him. He's the sweetest boy in the world.
Huh? What are we talking about?
How do you feel, sir, about weekly releases based on bingeable releases?
Oh, I thought I answered it. I said I preferred the latter. But
we needed you to elaborate.
Yeah.
It's a forum here, sir.
I do like the build up, waiting in anticipation of what's going to happen, and you have to wait. Like I hated it when going through it, like back in the day, and then I got spoiled with the binge watching era. But then they started bringing back the weekly. I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice again, because when they drop everything at once, you binge it, you're excited, you watch it all in a day or two or a weekend. And then you have to wait even longer for the next season instead of like months.
Exactly.
So no, I prefer the week to week right now.
So the ghoul, his wife, being the Vault Tech, executive she is, do you think we'll see the ghoul find her in season 2? Or do you think that's going to be like a much larger story arc that plays over across, more seasons than just 2? Do you think his wife and daughter are still alive? Like, what do you think about that?
I didn't even consider that.
I was gonna say, I was actually very surprised when he said, "Where's my family?"
Yeah,
I was sitting there thinking, like, you were with your daughter when the bombs dropped.
Yeah,
like how far could you? I figured she was.
There's
gone.
a big gap. Like we have no idea what happened from him running with her.
I just kind of assumed his wife might be somewhere, because I know she wanted to get a vault, but his daughter was with him. I kind of figured she was gone until that last episode.
What if she's in 31 and they just didn't show her?
They might all be in 31, honestly.
Well, the weird thing is, like, she knew the bombs were going to drop, so why would she let her daughter out there?
No, they're sealed up somewhere.
She did say that there were nice vaults that the Vault-Tec employees got, so there might be other 31s too, where they're just all frozen in there and they're not being experimented on. So she just might be in another non-experimental one. Which, did we ever get a non-experimental vault in any of the games? I don't remember. Like, I felt like every single vault.
I don't believe something. So. There was. I don't remember numbers or anything, but I forget what they called them. Not non-experimental, but like regulation vaults, perhaps. But there wasn't many of them.
Man,
yeah.
Joe, you do bring up a good point. Like, his wife knew this was coming. Why would her daughter be?
We won't get into my storyline gripes, because I wonder how he was shooting so poorly at the Brotherhood of Steel in the early season or earlier in the season, but then at the end of the season he just like pinpoint shoots and drops one. But I just take it to the fact that he might have not had ability points at that time.
They did release all of their ability stats on Twitter.
I There were some moments during this season that I kept hearing Nick say, "That was easy."
Super easy,
Barely-
barely an inconvenience.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So, for anybody wondering, the ghoul
Yes.
has 5 strength, 6 perception, 7 endurance, 7 charisma, 4 intelligence, 7 agility, and 4 in luck. Maximus has 7 strength, 6 perception, 6 endurance, 5 charisma, which should probably be lower, 4
Yeah.
intelligence, should also probably be lower. Agility is 7, and then luck is 5. And then Lucy had 4 strength, 7 perception, 6 endurance, 5 charisma, which I think should be a little bit higher, 6
Mhm.
intelligence, 5 agility, and 7 luck. Those
Yeah,
were the
luck
main
was high.
character stats.
Charisma
Yeah.
definitely high.
Her charisma
Should've
should
been high
definitely
for
be
her.
higher. Now I need the stats on the guy who couldn't figure out to use water in his water filter.
I wanted
Oh.
the stats on the guy who was with the chicken.
Like some of those interactions in that game, some like that the chicken interaction. That's just something that you would see in the game and not be surprised by it.
No,
Right.
not at all.
A huge
Where
nod to
I'm
the
like-
game.
Where I see that and I'm like, yeah, that's funny. And my wife's like, what is wrong with these people?
And that was how
he
it
sounded
was.
so defeated. He did this to my chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
And then he runs off.
Oh, so good.
And his cure was basically to turn you into a ghoul.
Which
Because he gives
listen, when his foot had the crippled status, why didn't he just take a stim pack?
Also
Because
true.
the stim
Yeah.
pack heals the crippled status.
His
Or get
his
like a
toe
doctor
is a little
bag.
funny looking.
oh dude, it was hanging on. Barely hanging there.
Oh,
I
that
didn't-
was nasty. And then he takes that arrow through the neck, and I'm like, oh, and he's like,
I guess.
Why
it
am
was
I
fine
not
now.
dead?
Yeah.
Don't pull it out.
The
don't pull
like,
it out, don't pull it out.
The like wheezing noise that every time he
Oh.
took a breath.
Gosh, I might rewatch this like soon.
You know what? This
Yeah.
show definitely deserves a rewatch because there's so much in it. Probably so much that I missed details that I just need to like absorb.
I would
Get
take a
as much
spin
as
off
I
on
can.
just Thaddeus being a ghoul too. Like you gotta
Oh,
keep the
yeah.
actor, but I would take a full show just revolved around Thaddeus. He like for a short mini series, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was a really funny character. He really was. All right, so I guess now is the time we kind of can rate season 1 and give our recommendation. So I'll start out here. Being new to this world and this franchise, I think the show does a really great job of letting you in and giving you a little background of all of the main points of the game. It does a great job of capturing the visual aesthetic and the quirkiness of the game that's noticeable for someone who isn't like deeply entrenched in the Fallout universe. It wasn't hard to understand and pick up, and the 3 storylines we got for the 3 main characters, Lucy, Maximus, and the ghoul, the way that they were able to interweave with each other and tell the larger picture story, I thought was done really well. I would give this, we'll give it an 8 out of 10. Excited for season 2, would definitely recommend, and I'm sure the other 3 will be able to provide an even more in-depth review from a person who enjoyed the game series as well. So Anthony, why don't you kick us off with your review and recommendation of the show here? I definitely give it a must watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a must watch for anyone who can at least stomach most of the gore parts. I definitely can see that being a turn off. But I mean, video games aside, it is an incredibly fun adventure. And it's very interesting to take a look back at all the video game adaptations that we've gotten and how differently we approach them. For The Last of Us, you want that exact story told on screen. For Fallout, we're happy if they throw the games away and just give us a unique story in the world. Like, it's great to see that they have that kind of freedom, and it seems like a lot of the fans are grabbing onto that. And the fact that this has brought so many people back to the series and brought people back to Fallout 76, which I've heard has gotten amazing updates, and I'm excited to try it for the first time. I just think it's got to be a 9.5 out of 10 for me, because I can't find a real big flaw that would make it enough for me to care about it. Obviously, there's some gripes about the story, I'm sure. Like, not every single story is bulletproof, and I don't expect perfection out of that. My only complaint was the lack of classic monsters, but I actually thought the show itself was so good that I'm kind of glad that they saved stuff for season 2. Like, I'm glad they didn't just blow it all immediately and show us everything we wanted to see, being like, here's just a fan service of 8 episodes. They took it seriously, and they gave us a quality show with a Fallout skin on it too. And that's all that I can ask for. 9.5 out of 10. It's just close to perfect for me. And yeah, it is absolutely a must watch for anybody who's a fan of the games, not a fan of the games, interested in the world. Go watch the show.
Very nice. Dad.
Oh man, there's so much to say that's probably been said already. Just to reiterate.
Yeah, that's why I like to go first on this part.
Yeah, right. I got nothing left.
The adaptation, I loved seeing all the Easter eggs thrown in. A huge nostalgia trip for me. Made me get Fallout 1, 2, and Fallout Tactics just to play through because I love those games. We'll probably end up buying 3, 4, and New Vegas and 76. Actually, I have 76. So many games, so much stuff that they can pull from, and they pulled so much already to create this world based off a weird, silly, gruesome idea. I'd have to give it a 9. I mean, I thought the whole like experimentation vault where they had an ear on their head, the Cyclops overseer, that was kind of weird. It was so, I don't know, it was weird. Little things, tiny minuscule things that kind of like made me question. But overall, I mean, I'm gonna rewatch it, and I definitely recommend it to fans or newcomers to the franchise. Watch it, play the games, watch the show again, rinse and repeat, do it all. You will not be disappointed unless you don't like the gore. There's some weird stuff, but I definitely recommend it.
Nice. All right, Joe, what do you got for us here?
Fallout for me is probably the best game adaptation I've seen. Just the product placement, the music, the quirky stories, the outlandish creatures, more to come on that. But I feel like it's just going to only get better. It told the story in a way that Fallout players can understand and laugh at certain parts. I definitely feel like you have to watch this with somebody who's played Fallout. Or if you go and play Fallout now, something will happen in the Fallout game and it will remind you of this series and it'll click for you. If you are a huge fan of this and it's made you want to play a Fallout, if you're looking for a Fallout that's going to go with the tone of this series, I would probably start with New Vegas, because New Vegas is out there and outlandish. To me, has the most comedic moments. If you're looking for something more polished, probably Fallout 4. Yeah. Fallout 3 is just very dingy, grindy,
green.
Yes,
Don't
green.
Talk bad about my beloved.
Oh no!
Love that game.
Fallout 3 is my favorite.
It's
Fallout
great.
3 is my favorite. But no, the series, I'm gonna give the series a 9 out of 10. I would definitely watch it again because I already want to watch it again. Like as we're talking about this tonight, I'm like, man, I could go for rewatching this. I definitely recommend it. If you've watched this podcast all the way to the end and you haven't watched it, you're silly Sally.
Yeah, you should have probably gone away at the spoiler warning, because the twists and turns of the show were so fantastic.
And have we truly spoiled that much?
We haven't talked much about the story at all.
No.
We hardly covered the story.
We grazed it.
That is true. There was so much. I mean, we glossed over the second vault too and everything, and I didn't even think about that. Like,
yeah.
the fact that was Jerry from
right?
Rick and Morty was so perfect. Love that.
It would have been great if he was the overseer of the vault full of Garys. That would have
Right?
just been like
That
maybe a little too on the nose, but
Like we didn't even mention like Moldaver. Is that how you say it?
Moldaver. I think was how
Moldaver?
they said it. Yeah.
We hardly mentioned that at all. And
Which, yeah, because she probably should have been dead too.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
even know how she really was there, unless
No.
she
And
just
we
woke
didn't-
up from the ice too. I don't know.
We didn't talk about the cold fusion where it lit up the whole.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. We just talked for as long as we did, and gushed over so much of the story, but we didn't cover we just did side quest. It's Fallout.
That's what we
I
did.
will always get sidetracked by random
That's-
stuff.
I mean,
also that line in the show was hilarious.
Yeah,
Ghoul was so well written.
he was.
yeah, he definitely broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Walter Goggins being the one to have so many of the iconic Fallout lines too, and being the one to admit he's never played a game. His son was a
Yep.
fan, and he
Yep.
refuses to play them because he wanted to just be explained to what to do. Was so fantastic.
I was watching a clip of him talking about being in costume and makeup and stuff, and he fell asleep, and he woke up
Yeah,
and
I
he
saw
scared himself. It's like
That's awesome.
it's amazing.
I saw somebody asked Walter what he thought about girls finding the ghoul attractive, and he said, "I think you need to all talk to your fathers." That was really funny. I have no idea if it was a real quote or anything, but if it wasn't, it's so funny.
We'll roll with it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, well, that was great.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, you're right. We barely talked about the story. But yeah, there's just so much other stuff that made the story. The stories were great, and those details are very important and very interesting. But there's so much other stuff that makes this show stand out and awesome. It's crazy. We talked for almost an hour and a half. Literally did not talk about the actual story.
That's what I'm saying. It's all side quest.
But hey, thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you subscribe here. I have links for Anthony's Twitter and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel in the episode description. Of course, UglyKidJoeCross on Twitch. Those links are in the episode description. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
See you, everybody.
Like
I have to
kind of like
ask
me.
Yeah, I have to ask you a question, Dad. How did it feel seeing
My brother in
little
the show?
people
Yeah, yeah.
representation in such a great show? I mean, that's he actually he's standing right now. You guys don't know he's not actually
Oh, wow.
sitting at a desk.